Isn't it time to believe these people?
I remember a conversation with the head of the school when I was really young. He told me we weren't allowed to speak English in the madrasa, only our language. I asked why, because I was confused. I said, but I speak English at school. And he replied, yes, but only speak English when you have to. It's not our language. Then he said something that stuck with me ever since. He told me, be careful who you get too friendly with. Don't forget who your community is. And then, straight faced, he told me not to be friends with white kids. I was a little girl and I remember just feeling confused. I was born and raised in England. My classmates were white. My friends were white. So what were they teaching us? They act like this cult is peaceful, that they're just kind, loving, spiritual people. But that day, they planted the seed of division, of us versus them.
So this young lady tells us that when she was at the Madrassa, at the Islamic school, she learned from their teacher that she shouldn't forget her community, her language, and be careful whom she associates with. And in a way, it makes sense. Let me explain. So the madrasa teacher is telling her that she has an identity, she has roots that carries on in her language, in her culture, in her community, and in her religion. But then they come to the West and they have to assimilate. But that's the problem for her and her community. They know that when you assimilate, you have to give certain things up, even though you don't want to, but you have to. It makes sense that when you go to another place that you don't want to lose your identity, lose your culture, lose your religion. But how can you assimilate when you hold on to those things? And then the only result is that the country and the people that they reside in, they have to change. And that is precisely what we see nowadays. We see in the US and in Europe that Europe is changing, that the people in Europe are changing, because that's the only option. That's the only thing that you can do. If the other ones aren't changing and you don't want to have internal conflict, then you tell your own population and your own nation that they have to change. Their culture needs to be changed. So you get rid of your own culture, of your own people, and you tell your own people that they need to do anything in their power and even more than they can accept in order to avoid conflict. And you have to keep in mind that if the roles would be reversed, would we get the same leniency? So for example, if terrible things come to Europe and Europeans need to flee and they go to North Africa and to the Middle East, would Europeans get the same as they got from us right now? So as a summary to this video, this young lady told us that her madrasa teacher told her that she shouldn't forget her language, which makes sense in a way, and she should speak English only in areas that she's supposed to, but not at home, not in the school of Madrassa, the Islamic school. And she's being told that she shouldn't forget her community and her cultural things, her religion, etc., which also makes sense, but that's the problem of a multicultural society, multi-religious society. Eventually, it doesn't work. Or do you think it works? Let me know in the comment section under this video.